Hello to Orbetello. It is a great pleasure to present you today the digital reconstruction of the Roman villa near Stettfeld, which is based on geomagnetics. First, the location. Stettfeld is a small municipality between Heidelberg and Karlsruhe in southwest Germany. It is located at the east border of the Upper Rhine plain. The site of the Roman villa is situated at the flat slopes, a short distance above an important Roman road from north to south. The area of the villa never had been built over by modern houses. You find here only meadows, apple trees and some garden buildings. Then the historic background. The villa belongs to the vicus at Stettfeld, a small Roman settlement which was part of the province of Germania Superior. On a map you can see the capital of the Roman province, Mainz, in the north. Then the river Rhine, Stettfeld in the center, and Lopodunum, the capital of the Roman district of Stettfeld, a little bit to the north. Stettfeld was a Roman crossroad. Please look to the map again. The Roman villa of this settlement is the largest Roman villa of the German state Baden-Württemberg, comparable in size to villas near Mainz and Trier. This is the reason why it is called a palace-like villa, not a villa rustica. Because of the impressive dimensions, the building complex is of outstanding public interests. It is supposed that the owner of the villa was the owner of the Roman brick factory and pottery, which was excavated 2006, only 3 kilometers to the west, nearly exactly in front of the villa. Maybe a visual link between the two complexes in ancient times. The data. Since the end of the 19th century, it is known that in the area near Stettfeld there is a Roman site. However, there are no systematic excavations until now. Just a small digging project by a teacher in 1958, who found remains of a bathhouse. Unfortunately, the documentation is too little. Nevertheless, it is enough to assume that there are the remains of a Roman building of the 2nd and 3rd century AD. In 2003 and 2006 followed geophysical prospections with geomagnetics by the Landesamt für Denkmalpflege Baden-Württemberg, under the direction of Harald von der Osten, an expert for this technique, and Britta Rabold, who is responsible for archaeological projects in this district. Some words about the technique. It is possible to measure the Earth's magnetic field. On the picture you see the devices. Different materials react different. Artificial structures as walls or filled parts differ from natural structures. Artifacts produce anomalies of the natural magnetic fields. This is the reason why you get a map of dark and bright spots. That is what we call magnetogram. These spots can be interpreted as walls and rooms. On the map you can see the dark stripes, the traces of walls. What was the purpose of the reconstruction? The aim was, in the year 2018, to give visitors of the site information about the hidden building complex and the Roman past. On the picture you can see the board with a magnetogram, right, the ground plan, left, and two of my reconstructions at the top. Now I come to the topography and reconstruction itself. You can guess on the picture of OpenStreetMap a terrace in the terrain. It is the place of the building complex. Second, there is a water spring in the neighborhood today. Probably the current situation is like the situation in antiquity. I turn to the building complex. The prospection revealed the symmetric and monumental structure of a villa, consisting of the main building, more than 120 meters long, and some smaller buildings, about 20 or 25 meters in length. Traces of a palace-like representative complex. On the picture, the magnetogram left and the ground plan right. You may compare it without problems. In the center of the main building, there is a portico at the front on the west and another one at the back. Between them a row of several rooms. At each end of the porticos you can see a projection. At the rear area of the main house you can recognize the three buildings similar in size and lined up along the slope. We are allowed to interpret these structures as commercial facilities, buildings for vehicles, animals and agricultural products like grain. Here my reconstruction again. At the front, the main building with a long portico, and at the rear, the smaller houses with agricultural functions. Some methodical aspects about the dating, the ground plan, the elevation, floors, building phases, details and limits. The dating. It is a challenge to separate Roman traces from other traces. The ground plan. Some parts of the plan are difficult to interpret because of gaps and disruptions which are caused by trees, collapsed walls or modern structures. Though we know that the teacher has found some remains of a basing complex, proven by hippocausts, we don't know exactly where they come from. Probably from the south side, maybe from the middle or a little bit further east. It is difficult to reconstruct the elevation. Fortunately, there is a way out by finds from other sides. I take as an example the smaller houses to the rear. We can study buildings with fallen walls, probably caused by earthquakes. The image shows Hechingen-Stein, about 150 kilometers away from Stettfeld, a building with several small windows and rows of bricks. A drawing of the walls in Hechingen-Stein. We can identify the complete structure of this building from bottom to top. A second example from Oberndorf. A wall in a very good condition with at least two windows and a big gate. Oberndorf was the prototype for a replica in the open-air museum of Bliesbrück-Rheinheim. a site at the border of France and Germany. On the slide you can see the building in Bliesbrück-Rheinheim. It is the model for my reconstruction of the houses in the back of the main building in Stettfeld. The model for windows, gate, proportions and size. To represent the steps of reconstructing, I show you some drawings without explaining the details. At the top, in comparison, the agricultural houses in Hechenstein, Oberndorf and Stettfeld. The structures which I have presented before. At the bottom, some views of the main building of Stettfeld. The floors. The prospections tell us nothing about the number of floors. I have chosen 2 levels because it seems to correspond best to our knowledge of big Roman villas in Germania Superior. The building phases. The structure on the magnetogram show us a big consistency in the plan. But what about the building phases? It is hardly possible to separate phases based on this technique only. Then details. We don't know anything about details. For example, about the order of the columns. Furthermore, it is impossible to detect small structures and elements of wood by the technique of geomagnetics. Finally, we do not know anything about the limits of the complete complex, in ancient times probably defined by a wall, because the prospection was focused on the center of the villa, and the area is very large, full of trees. But the villa complex must have been much bigger. A short summary. The basis of my digital reconstruction of the villa of Stettfeld was a magnetogram. Is it enough for a 3D model? I would say yes. The type of the building complex is very clear and the shape of the parts are known in the main from a lot of other sites. An excavation, of course, could give us much more information about details of the architecture. But it is not expected now. The costs for digging and conservation would be too expensive. However, in my opinion, it seems possible and appropriate to reconstruct the Roman villa in the way which I have presented, without digging. The purpose of the reconstruction was to give the visitors of the site an impression of the monumental villa of Stettfeld, which is still hidden in the ground. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best from Germany. Goodbye.